Have you ever been playing a sports game and losing and thought to yourself, man, this is bullshit, this stupid game is rigged? Friends, I've been there. Most of the time it isn't rigged, it's just us being bad at sports games. But there was one instance when that was actually the case, and a sports game was rigged against one particular team. Here's what happened. Nowadays, the main aim of basketball video games is to replicate the sport in ruthless, exhaustive detail, down to the micro adjustments of foot positioning and individual beads of sweat on the players. Back in 1993, however, when NBA Jam released in arcades, the main aim was to do totally sick, gravity-defying dunks, while the announcer loses his mind about how great you are.
The score is tied! Oh my!
An arcadey, action-packed 2-on-2 basketball game, NBA Jam had you controlling big-head versions of famous early 90s ballers, and it had a pretty casual relationship with realism, with no fouls, lots of shoving, and the ball literally catching on fire because of how good the players are at basketball. That wasn't the only way players could get a competitive advantage. Turns out that behind the scenes there was some match fixing going on, and the people in charge were none the wiser. NBA Jam was made by the Chicago-based developer Midway Games during the height of the Michael Jordan era of Chicago's dominance of the NBA. This was a time when the Chicago Bulls seemed all but unstoppable, and I say this as a sports historian who has seen both the Michael Jordan Netflix documentary and that other documentary where he teamed up with Bugs Bunny to dunk on aliens. Truly the GOAT. So you've got to imagine Midway Games was a tough place to be a fan of the Chicago Bulls' most hated rivals, the Detroit Pistons, such as former Midway designer Mark Turmel.
Tonight's matchup, Bulls versus Pistons.
Rather than sit back and watch all the resident Chicago Bulls fans badmouth his favourite team, Turmel took matters into his own hands. As he revealed in an interview with Ars Technica, Turmel arranged it so that if an NBA Jam match between the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons was ever very close at the end, the Chicago players, Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant, were programmed to miss the crucial shots that could win them the game.
Pippen at the buzzer, no good!
Or as Turmel put it in the interview, I put in special code that if the Bulls were taking last-second shots against the Pistons, they would miss those shots. Turmel's advice, if you're ever playing the game, make sure you pick the Pistons over the Bulls.
At the buzzer, can't buy a bucket!
The genius of Turmel's sabotage was that it was so subtle. Because it affected just the one team, in just the one situation, it wouldn't come up often enough that people would really notice. But it still meant that the Chicago Bulls would lose more often than they otherwise would, and Pistons fans would be as happy as an NBA Jam commentator watching a really cool dunk.
At the buzzer, Pistons win the game!
So that's the story of how NBA Jam was rigged, but only against one team. So if you ever lost a game playing as the Bulls against a friend playing as the Pistons back in the 90s, now's the time to call them up and demand a rematch. What do you think? Was this sabotage totally uncalled for, or a hilarious prank that you'd also do given half the chance? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, you can support us by liking and subscribing, and especially hitting the bell icon for notifications when there are more videos like this from Outside Xbox. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the original Ars Technica video by clicking the link when it appears on screen, or if you fancy something else from Outside Xbox, click on the video underneath that. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a very important phone call to make. Hello? Yes? Yeah, is that Greg? Yes, it's Andy. Andy Farrant. From junior school. Yeah. Wow, has it really been that long? Anyway, I was just calling... Yeah, it is about NBA Jam, but Greg, I've discovered some shocking evidence that I think is actually really gonna... Greg?